Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Torah Outreach Program, Erev Shabbos, Burst of Inspiration. In this week's Parshas, this week's Torah reading, we're introduced to the forefather of the Jewish people, Avram. Avram is told at the very first words, Lech Lecha, go for yourself to the land of Canaan. Now it's interesting to note that last week's Parsha, we're told, Noach ish tzadik tamim haya b'dorosav. Noach was a perfect, righteous man of his generation. So the question is, or my question is, why wasn't Noach the forerunner of the Jewish people? Why don't we consider ourselves the children of Noach and not the children of Avram? Noach was a perfect tzaddik. Tzaddik tamim haya. Complete. Doesn't even say that about Avram. Noach, as I've mentioned previously, had one flaw. Now, everybody has flaws. There's no such thing as a human being without flaws. Our job in this world is to correct them. That's what makes us human. But Noach's flaw was he was a perfectly righteous man. But when God told him that no one else is, he didn't pray for them. He didn't go around trying to get them to change their ways. He was worried about just doing what he was told. God told him to build an ark. He built an ark. God told him, if anybody asks you why, tell them why, and maybe they'll change their ways. And he did. But he didn't push it. He didn't go around telling people. And he didn't beg God, ask God to save anyone. And the end of the story is, after the flood was over, and Noach saw the devastation, Hashem told him, do you know what we're going to call this flood? May Noach, the waters of Noach. Why? Because if it wasn't for Noach, it might not have happened. Had he done what he was supposed to do, which is pray for his people. Avram, on the other hand, Avram's main attribute that we talk about is his sense of chesed, doing for others, being there for others, both spiritually and physically, praying for them when they need God's mercy, teaching them to do the right thing, and being there to help them with their physical needs. We see that throughout the Torah reading of the next few Parshas. That was what Abraham was all about. When the people of stone were going to be destroyed, Hashem told him what's going to happen. He begged, he prayed, he argued not to let it happen, although they were thoroughly evil people. Whenever anybody needed a place to stay, he was famous for inviting guests. But when it came to their spiritual needs, after they were done, they thought maybe they should pay him for the service, like you do at a restaurant or a hotel. And he said, instead of paying me, thank the one who gave you the food. And let's say Berkat Hamazon, grace after meals. When he first left at the very beginning of the Parsha, it says, that they brought with them the souls that they had made in Haran. What does that mean? The souls they made in Haran. The people that they taught and they showed the proper way in being a spiritual person. The people that they pulled away from idol worship and all the evils that brings. They were the people that Avram and Sarah made. And we're told that if you teach someone Torah, it's as if you gave birth to them. So, what was the difference between Abraham and Noach? Not to say that Noach wasn't a good person. Noach was a tzaddik. Noach was not only a tzaddik, he was a complete tzaddik. He was completely righteous. But he had that one flaw. And because of that one flaw, he could not be the forerunner of the Jewish people. Because that attribute, that midah of being there for others, that's what makes us who we are. That's what makes us who we are. We are the Jewish people, and we are there for each other. And if we're not there for each other, then we're not the Jewish people. I mentioned this on Sukkot because we talked about the different species, the different parts that go into the Lulav and Esrog. One represents the person who studies Torah and does mitzvos. One represents the person who does mitzvos but doesn't study Torah. And the other one who studies Torah but doesn't do mitzvos. And then the Aravos, the willow, no smell, no taste, no mitzvos, no Torah. So what does it have? The three attributes of a Jew. Baishanim, a person who is modest and therefore blushes or gets embarrassed easily. A proper willow branch, arava, has a reddish stem, like a person blushing. Rachmanim, not sharp, but merciful. The leaves are not sharp; they're not jagged. Gomle chasadim, the leaves are long and narrow. That way, when water hits one leaf, it falls off and feeds the next one. They're there for each other. So the willow, although it represents a Jew who doesn't have Torah, it doesn't have mitzvos. What does it have? The main concept of every Jew. Humble, gets embarrassed, is not sharp, is merciful, and Gomle Chesed does for others. That's a Jew. It's very interesting to point out. We, the Jewish people, are in a very scary time. There is a horrible war going on in Israel right now. But sadly, before that war started, there was terrible fighting within the country. Political fighting over which way the justice system should be going. And fighting between the right wing, the leftists, the rightists, and also fighting between the religious and the non-religious. Fighting was getting to the point that it was tearing the country apart. And then the Hamas terrorists came. They did unspeakable crimes, unspeakable horrors, inhumane types of crime and murder, and the country had no choice but to go to war. But as soon as that war started, all the fighting was forgotten. And people were interested in each other's physical needs each other's emotional needs and each other's spiritual needs. And everybody was focused on, how can I be better? I'll give you an example. Somebody called up a family and said, I need to place some people that have to be relocated because of the war. Can you have anybody? And they said, I'll have to get back to you. By the time they got back to him, he said, oh, forget it, it's too late. They've already been placed. So, well, how many people are we talking about? Over 1,000. In a matter of 45 minutes, over 1,000 people were relocated and found places for Shabbos in another community. There was one man, a religious man, who saw a soldier going to the front, and he said, I want to do something for you. I'm not in the army, but I want to give you something. Please, can I give you food? Can I give you clothing? How can I help you? I want to do something to you. He said, I don't need food, I don't need clothing. I need tzitzit. And he said, I don't have. I want to give, but wait a minute, I do have. He opened up his shirt, and he took the tzitzit that he was wearing and he put him over the guy's head. But that wasn't good enough for him. He went back and he arranged his community. He got volunteers, and he collected money for the raw materials. And he took over one of the shoals, one of the synagogues. And the first time I heard about it, they had a goal of 30,000 pairs of tzitzit. The next time I heard, it went up to 50,000 pairs of tzitzit. We're worried about each other's spiritual gains. We're worried about each other's physical gains. We're worried about each other's emotional stability. We're there for each other. I brought this idea to my facilities, to my senior citizens. The vast, vast majority of them have very little connection to Torah Judaism, if at all. But I told them the idea that's going around is take on a mitzvah. A mitzvah, one. And get a name of a soldier, which I'll give out. And when you do that mitzvah, think of that soldier. I'm proud to say that I challenged them, and I told them I'm coming back next week. I'm going to get their answers of which mitzvah. But I already have 4 men who told me they want to wear tzitzis. When I started with the idea, I started with just the idea of Shabbos. And then this past Thursday, I went back and I continued that. And one lady said, Rabbi, you already mentioned this last week, and I want you to know, I stopped smoking on Shabbos because of that. I know I mentioned that last week in this video. But I said that today in another facility as a possibility of a mitzvah that they can do as a show of solidarity, as a merit for their brothers who are on the front line. And one person said, I won't smoke on Shabbos. He said, it's very hard, but I'm going to try. I'm not going to smoke on Shabbos. And I told him, I said, do me a favor. After Shabbos is over, give me a call and tell me you made it. And you'll be doing another mitzvah by making me happy. So the answer is obvious. Why Avraham and not Noach, because the attribute of Avraham is what God wanted ingrained in the DNA of his people. And that was, by Shanim, we embarrass easily. Rachmanim, we're merciful. But above all, Gomli Chasodim. We're there for each other physically, emotionally, spiritually. And that's what God was trying to show us when this war started. And that's what's going to take us out of this war successfully. Shabbos.